Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fifth and final session of Don't Sell Yourself Short. My name is Jenny, and I'll be your instructor for today's session. I first just wanted to start off by checking in to see how everyone's doing during quarantine. I know that this can be a big adjustment for a lot of people. Um, Everyone's lives have kind of been changed to adapt to this new way of living. I know I myself have had to change some of the habits and routines that I have just to adapt to this new way of living. Um, but I hope that you all are doing well during this time. And I express my sincerest condolences to anyone who has been personally affected by this disease or knows anyone who has been personally affected by this disease. But I hope that you are all staying healthy and safe. And I think that a lot of the topics that we discussed today can help alleviate some of the stress that comes along with this uncertain time. So we will start off today's session by first reviewing the topics that were discussed in last week's session on the App Store. So we will review how to find the App Store, how to download an app to our phones, and then we will get started on this week's session on internet and music apps. So as I was thinking about this week's session, I started to realize how helpful it would be to have an understanding of the internet, especially during a time of quarantine. We can use this skill to search for important information on the new coronavirus, how long to wash our hands for, how to make a homemade mask, when to wear gloves and a mask out, and food delivery services. So food delivery services is something that especially stood out to me because I know a lot of people who have been using like Amazon or Instacart to have their groceries delivered to their house rather than going to the grocery store. But to be able to do so, you have to have an understanding of the internet. So I thought that this really applied to what we'll be talking about today. The other topic that we will be discussing today is music apps. And I think that this is also very important during this time because I think that it is important for people to continue to explore their interests during this time at home. And if music is something that you find meaningful, I hope that some of the skills that we talk about today will help you to continue to explore these interests at home. So that being said, let's get started with today's session. Just as a reminder, if you need to pause the video at any time, feel free to do so. There will also be times throughout the PowerPoint for you to practice the skill on your own. But if you feel that you need more time to practice, you can always pause the video and rewind at any point. I also have the PowerPoint set up so that we talk about iPhones and Androids at different parts. So if we are talking about the phone that doesn't pertain to you, you can always fast forward through that part. So that being said, I hope you enjoy today's session, and we will now be transitioning to the PowerPoint portion of this presentation. So the objective of today's session is to have an understanding of internet usage and music apps. We will be learning how to search Google, which is important for gathering desired information. Adding a page to your favorites, so say that you find something that you think is important or interesting, it would be easier to return to that page later if it's in your favorites. So for example, since I'm a Kean student, I have the Kean website as one of my favorites on my phone, so I can access it easily at any point, rather than having to type it in every time. Another skill that we will be working on is starting a new tab on your phone. So say that you are on one tab and you want to keep it open, you can simply add another tab to make another search. So we will be going over how to do that. I will also be discussing finding songs on music apps and adding those songs to a playlist. And I will be going through each of these steps using picture examples. So now we're going to do a quick review of some of the things that we discussed in last week's session. The first skill that I want you to practice is finding the App Store on your phone. And once you have found the App Store, I want you to practice downloading an app to your phone. You will have 1 minute to practice, but if you need any more time, feel free to pause the video. Okay, so let's go over our answers. To find the App Store, the first step should be clicking on the App Store on your home screen. After doing so, you will click on the search bar to find an application. After finding an app that you want to download, you will then click on the icon that looks like a cloud with an arrow going through it. The app will then be installed to your phone. To find an app on the Android, you will first look for the Play Store on your home screen. After doing so, you will click on the search bar and type in the app that you are looking for. After finding an app that you want to download, you will then click on the icon that says Install. The app will then be installed to your phone. So that will conclude our review portion of this presentation. If you need to reference last week's session on the App Store, the video will still be available to you. And if you have any questions or just need a refresher, feel free to refer back to that video. So we will now get started on this week's session of Don't Sell Yourself Short. We will first be discussing how to access the internet on an iPhone. So if you have an iPhone, this is the icon that you will be looking for on your screen. If you do not have an iPhone, you are more than welcome to fast forward through this portion and skip to the Android section of this presentation. So we're going to discuss how to search for something on Google. You will first look for the Safari tab. This is the blue icon that looks kind of like a compass. And after pressing on the Safari tab, you're going to press on the search bar at the top of the screen. It should say search or enter website name. After clicking on the search bar, you can type in what you are looking for. You can either type in a full URL or even just the name or word that you are looking for. In this example, I typed in Kean University. Once making the search, Google will generate a response and direct me towards the website that I need. We will now learn about adding a page to your favorites on Safari. So once you have found the website that you need, you can add the website to your favorites so that you can access it easily every time that you open the Safari app. So in order to do this, you are going to click on the icon at the bottom middle of the screen that looks like a little square with an arrow going through it. You will then look for a tab that says Add to Favorites with a star next to it. After clicking Add to Favorites, you will click Save at the top right-hand corner of the screen. This page will then be added to your favorites on your phone. Next time you open the Safari tab, it will look like the picture in picture 4. You can easily click on the website that you are interested in from this page. In order to start a new tab on Safari, you will need to click on the double square icon on the bottom right of the screen. After doing so, you will need to click on the plus icon at the bottom middle of the screen. This will form a new tab. After forming a new tab, you can make a new search in the search bar at the top of the page. You will now have 1 minute to practice these skills related to using the internet on an iPhone. If you need more time, you can always pause and rewind this video. We will now talk about how to use the internet on an Android. So you will be looking for this icon on your screen. So we will first talk about searching for something on Google using an Android. The first thing that we are going to do is look for the Chrome icon that we saw on the last slide. Once you have clicked on that icon, it will bring you to a screen in the second picture. You are then going to tap on the search bar that says search or type web address. You can then go ahead and type in the URL or the name or word that you are looking for. We will now learn about adding a page to your favorites on an Android. You are going to click on the icon that looks like 3 little dots in the top right of the page. This will bring you to a list of options. You will then click on the icon that looks like a star. Clicking on the star icon will add the page to your favorites. After you have added the page to your favorites, the star should turn blue, indicating that the page is successfully added to your favorites. After doing so, you will be able to access the page every time that you open the Chrome application, as you can see in the fourth picture. In order to start a new tab on an Android, you will click on the icon that looks like 3 little dots in the top right-hand corner. After doing so, you will click on the option that says New Tab. You will know that you have successfully opened a new tab when the number changes from a 1 to a 2 in the right upper hand corner. You will now have 1 minute to practice these skills related to using the internet on an Android. If you need more time, you can always pause and rewind this video. So when using the internet, it is important to keep some safety tips in mind. Using a private account will allow for only the people that you know to see your information. It is important to remember to not give out personal information over the internet, such as your name, credit card information, or emails to unsafe websites. It is also important to remember to not click on pop-up links. Some of these links can be computer viruses, which can affect your computer or access your personal information. One last safety tip is to only visit secure websites. So in order to identify if a website is secure or not, one general sign is to look for sites that have HTTPS rather than HTTP. Sometimes it will even say not secure in the URL. We are now going to discuss music applications. The app that we are going to look at today is called Spotify. This app can be downloaded to any iPhone or Android from the App Store. This green and black icon is what we are going to be looking for when searching for Spotify. The first step is to download the Spotify app. Remember that you can always reference back to last week's session to learn how to download an app from the App Store. The next step is to click on the Spotify app. Remember that you are looking for this green and black icon on your home screen. After clicking on this app, it will bring you to the first picture. To find a song, you will click on the icon that looks like a magnifying glass. You can then type in any song or artist or playlist that you wish to listen to. Once you have searched for a song, you can then add it to a playlist. The first step is to click on the icon that looks like three little dots on the side of the screen. The next step is to click on the option that says Add to Playlist. You can then add the song to one of your existing playlists or to a new playlist. For the purpose of this presentation, we're going to practice adding a song to a new playlist, assuming that this is the first time that we are forming a playlist. In order to do so, you will click on the tab that says New Playlist. You will then be asked to name your playlist. After naming your playlist, you can press Create. You can then follow this process to continue adding songs to this playlist. You will now have 1 minute to practice these skills related to finding and adding songs to a playlist on Spotify. If you need more time, you can always pause and rewind this video. So that concludes all the information for this week's session. I hope that you all enjoyed the lesson today, and I hope that you all learned something new about your phones that you hadn't known before that you can now use in your everyday lives. So just as a review, today we went over how to use internet features as well as music features on our phones. We learned how to access the internet, open a new tab, and add a tab to our favorites. We learned a couple of tips related to safe tips and tricks to keep in mind when using the internet. We learned about the importance of private accounts, not giving out personal information, avoiding pop-ups, and identifying secure websites. We also learned how to search for a song on Spotify and add a song to a playlist. I hope that these skills will be beneficial to you, especially during this time. I know that I myself have been using these features a lot more on my phone with everything going on. And just remember that even though these times are uncertain, we are all going to get through this together. Again, just as a reminder, this is our last session of the program. I want to thank you all for listening in and being so accommodating to this new way of learning. I know that it might not be the same as seeing each other in the classroom, but I really hope that you all took something out of it. And if you need to reference these videos at any time, they will still be available to you. And if you wish to leave us feedback, please leave a comment on the video below because we would love to hear about it. I thank you all for coming today, and I hope that you all have a great summer.